The following presentation is controversial and may be shocking to some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Pop quiz. The power grid is down and your tap water is contaminated with E. coli. It's been 7 days since you've had access to a grocery store. A band of looters is 3 houses down. They're coming to your door next. You have 60 seconds to make the right decision. Your family's life could hang in the balance. What do you do? If you can't answer that question, then you owe it to everyone you love to watch this entire presentation right now. There is one simple solution to that scenario, and I'm going to give it to you for free in the next few minutes. If you think that's far-fetched, then you obviously haven't been watching the news recently and need to wake up and tune in. Shut down every other application on your computer and focus on what you're about to learn, because the free information I'll give you in the next few minutes can literally save your life. But I can't share this information with everyone. So let's take care of that right now. If you aren't proud to fly the stars and stripes and don't think this is the best country on earth, then please leave now. If you refuse to listen to the truth and just want to smile, turn on the TV and ignore what's going on, then this ain't for you. If you think the notion of martial law in America is no more than a crackpot theory, and you think you and your family are ready and prepared for any major disaster that may come, please leave now and enjoy your blindfolded, medicated euphoria. If that's you, then you're on your own. Best of luck. You'll need it, seriously. I'm Frank Mitchell, a proud member of the U.S. Armed Forces and a certified disaster and survival expert who's going to show you how to keep your family safe, happy, and healthy no matter what you have to face. I wish I never had to make this video. I wish you didn't have to watch it, but I'm damn glad you are right now. I really wish I could tell you that this great country is as stable as a reinforced concrete wall, but I can't. I wish you could just go about your life like you have every day, not aware of the dangerous situation you're really in. I wish you could just relax and watch the game while everything goes on like it always has. But I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that if you don't wake up and listen to me right now, you and your family are on a one-way train to a catastrophe of epic proportions. Think of it like this. If you knew your friend was too drunk to drive, would you still let him get behind the wheel and drive off? I hope not. I hope you're the type of person who would take control. Put him in your car and drive him home, even if you have to force him kicking and screaming. You're in the exact same situation right now, and it's my duty to tell you to stop, take action, and prepare for the future before it's too late. And even if you think you've already got it all figured out, I'm about to blow your mind when you find out just how serious the situation really is. The information I'm about to share may shock you, but you have to learn this now before it's too late. I'm not saying the world is going to end tomorrow, and I'm no conspiracy theorist, and I sure can't predict the future. I can say one thing, though. The writing is on the wall, and no one can deny it. If you've done nothing to prepare and are expecting the government to provide for you and your family in any situation that arises, then you have another thing coming. And if you've already built or bought your own disaster kit, according to the Department of Homeland Security's website, you might be in an even worse situation. Thinking you're prepared when you really aren't gives you an incredibly dangerous false sense of security, and I can't stand by and watch that happen. I realize that this may be a tough pill to swallow. Facing reality is scary, and most people would rather just ignore it. But the truth is, if you care about yourself and your family, then you better be nervous about where this country is going. You can feel it. Something is going to happen, and it's not going to be years from now. I don't know when, but I do know one thing. You won't have any warning. Stop trying to convince yourself that everything is okay. It's time to step up, learn the truth, and get ready. The U.S. economy is in the worst position it's ever experienced. Our global credit rating was downgraded by Standard & Poor S&P for the first time in history. The crippling $17 trillion debt our bloated government created is shoving our financial system closer and closer to complete collapse. That's a 200% national deficit increase in the last 10 years alone, and it shows no signs of stopping. If the trend continues, eventually we won't be able to make the payments, just like a hard-working father who loses his income and can't pay his mortgage when his job outsourced to China. The trillions in treasury bonds the government issues becomes worthless, and the countries that hold our debt, like China, Japan, Taiwan, and Russia, abandon the dollar because we can't make the payments. Not to mention the foreign oil countries that hold trillions more in U.S. debt. What happens? According to economist Peter Schiff, during 2013 and 14, we are in store for a collapse even greater than what we saw in 2008 that will rock our economy to its very core. Here's one scenario. The dollar will become worthless on the international market as the treasury bonds we've issued are no longer worth the paper they're printed on. The foreign oil our country is addicted to will suddenly become so expensive that major corporations won't be able to afford the cost of fuel. Gas prices have already risen 270% over the last 10 years. When this crisis hits, they could rise over 500% in a single day. The same corporations who create and sell the food you eat every day won't be able to afford to run their trucks. The trucks will just stop. The highways will be empty. Your grocery store will not be restocked. Stores will be picked clean in the first week as Americans grab whatever they can. No more bottled water, no bread, and no milk or baby formula. What little food is left will be too expensive for you to buy. We've seen it happen before in places like East Africa in 2011, China in the late 50s, Russia in the 30s, and Haiti in 2008. Millions of people who couldn't afford food or there was just none to buy. Mass chaos and death were the result. Whenever the right elements come together, collapse is the only outcome. And all those elements are in play right now. Overwhelming national debt, protests, rising food and fuel costs. It's all happening right now. If you watch the news, you know what I'm saying is true. Do you think your government will take care of you when it happens? Have you seen what a FEMA shelter looks like? Do you remember what happened in New Orleans? Do you want to be standing in a government food line hoping that you get enough to feed yourself and your entire family for the week? Hoping that the thousands of other people standing in line are all just going to get along, be friendly, and not try to grab your food for themselves? Or worse, your government knows this is on the horizon. They just aren't telling you how to prepare for it. What happens when all the city and county workers who maintain our electrical grids and water systems have to spend every moment making sure their families have enough food to eat? Who's there to make sure you have clean water and electricity flowing to your house? No one. That's who. A systematic breakdown of our nation's entire infrastructure is a true possibility. And all it takes is one failure to knock that first domino over. I can feel it. I bet you can too. And I know there isn't enough real specialized information and instruction out there for the millions of people who will be up Schitt's Creek when the hammer drops, especially for the families. I have a family of my own, a wife and 2 sons, and I know the real panic I feel when I think about what they would go through if we weren't prepared. You don't need to feel that panic. You just need to be ready. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you. I've been living and breathing survival for my entire adult life. It's who I am. I hold over 60 FEMA disaster-related certifications. I'm a military policeman and trained on everything that can happen during a crisis situation, and an expert on all U.S. Army small arms. I spend weeks at a time in the wilderness with nothing but the skills I'm about to teach you to keep me alive. I'm a second-degree black belt in Taekwondo and personal defense expert. I'm not trying to brag, but if you combine Bear Grylls and Chuck Norris, you've got me. During my military career, I've seen what happens when catastrophe strikes. I've had to put on my riot gear and watch as panic rips a community apart. And after years of this, I came to realize that the American public is perhaps the least well-prepared nation in the world when it comes to dealing with a disaster. Millions of people going to work, coming home to their families, eating dinner, and watching their favorite shows day in and day out, completely unaware that disaster may strike at any moment. Not only unaware, but even more dangerous, completely unprepared. Just look at what happened when Katrina, or more recently Sandy, struck the U.S. Mass pandemonium broke out. People died who never should have. And those who have been smart enough to realize that disaster is going to happen usually start looking online for guidance. Maybe that's how you found this site. Thank God you did. Most of what you'll find on those other sites is watered down, completely useless information designed to make you feel like everything's going to be okay. Head over to the Department of Homeland Security's website and follow their guides. I dare you to. You'll be prepared enough for a brisk wind or a heavy rainstorm, but you won't have a chance in hell of surviving what could really happen. Follow those instructions and you might as well just sign your family up for a retreat at Camp FEMA, because that's exactly where you'll end up when you can't provide for yourself. And that's only if you can't make it to a camp or disaster relief site in time. Remember, you'll be competing with tens of thousands for scarce resources. You know, like food and water as the government doles them out to the top 10% first. Regular people like you and me will just get the leftover scraps. And if you're not prepared to survive the 1 to 3 months it takes to calm the chaos of a true disaster, you're putting the lives of yourself and your family in dire risk. It's a stone-cold fact. I'm not trying to scare you and turn you into a nervous basket case peeking around the edges of boarded-up windows. I'm trying to clue you into the reality of today and show you that you don't have to live in fear. You can take control right now. There is no other time than now. Sure, you could wait another day, week, or a month, But what could happen? The country has been riding on a bubble of false confidence for years, and it's about to burst. Do you want to be one of the ones who are surprised when the bottom drops out? If you could have done something about it but chose not to because you were too busy, too distracted, or just didn't make simply educating yourself and preparing a priority, don't let it be you. I refuse to let that happen. Not when I have all the knowledge and skills you could need to survive most any crisis. Not when I've already made sure my family will be safe. You deserve to have the same level of confidence and hope that my years of training have given me. So I sat down and got to work pouring everything I know about preparing for and surviving a disaster. And I created a simple system that anyone, including you, can follow to make sure you're never left unprepared. From a power crisis to food shortages, hurricanes to home invasion, everything is covered in this system. When you simply follow the steps, you will never have an excuse to not be prepared. And I call it the Family Survival System. You'll notice that it's not a course, book, or guide. It's a system that will take you from an unprepared liability to a survival specialist who will lead your family and everyone you love through any disaster happily, healthily, and prosperous. A system that you will follow step by step until you are more educated and prepared than a college professor on the first day of class. You will become a leader, someone people look to for guidance and protection, someone your family and everyone around you will be proud of. Want to know what you'll get from the Family Survival System? I have nothing to hide, so let's get to it. What follows is just a small taste of what's included. What the true risks are in America right now, how to recognize them, and how to prepare for them all. To properly prepare, you must first know what you need to prepare for, and I'll show you what signs to watch out for and what to do when you see them. How to use the trash in your garbage can to create enough clean drinking water to keep your family alive for months without having to build anything or buy any expensive filters. An adult needs about a gallon of water per day and can only survive for 3 days without it. But you'll never have to experience that when you follow this system. This one skill will keep you and everyone you know alive longer than anything else, and you'll learn it on page 14. How to make sure that your family never has to go without a hot meal. Do you really want to have to live on MREs and beef jerky? On page 26, you'll learn exactly how to have home-cooked meals every day, even if the power and gas are out of service. You'll laugh at how simple that is and wonder, why didn't I think of that before? How to save a life, even if you have no medical experience. During a crisis, people will be wounded. You can count on it. Follow the Family Survival System, and you will know exactly what to do when you, your family, or even a stranger needs your help. The truth about having a gun. Just having a gun in your house does you no good. If you don't know what to do and how to do it, you're more of a danger than a protector. You'll see exactly what type of gun to have and how to use it to protect the ones you love. What information